The being has been veiled by the mind. That awareness, the consciousness, the witnesser, that is exactly the same all the way through this lifetime and before and after, that never changes. That's always present. It's always aware in its true state. Doesn't get old. It's never been born. Doesn't feel pain. There is no worry. There is no anxiety. There's nothing there in the eye. It's just a thing that witnesses life detached from the story. And what happens is we're born and we start to get layer and layer of conditioning, layer and layer of programming that is filtered down into that being, into that child. Now, if your parents or the people that you're around the most have had a shit life, they've got layer upon layer upon layer of conditioned thinking and programming, then that gets filtered down into that child. That child then becomes an added on version of them, the people around it. Them stories from the adults or even from other children becomes a part of that entity's ego. Ego, story, conditioning, it's all the same thing. Gets filtered down into that child. Then everybody's walking about, not a fucking clue who they are. Thinking they're the mind. Thinking that what daddy told you, what mummy told you. Thinking the story. For whole lifetimes. People can live in this state for lifetimes. Not waking up to the truth that they're not that. How can you be the story what somebody has told you? How can the I, the awareness, the witnesser, the consciousness, be the story what mummy's told you, what daddy's told you, what your friends have told you? It's like Chinese whispers. It gets drip fed to generation to generation into generation. And if you're sorry, I can't pass these kids here. Morning, guys.
Hi.
Morning, but not bad, buddy. Morning, buddy. Morning, you okay? Morning. Morning, mate. Morning, buddy. It's not my place to wanna. Everyone has free will, and every entity is here to experience their own life. So if you're on this page, and there's nearly 20,000 people on here now, if you're on this page to awaken, then that's your truth. I'm not here to spread that to anybody that doesn't want to hear it, because it could alter a life path that is not meant for them. And everyone has free will to choose. If they pick up something that, right, there's something else here, then that's fine. But I don't generally like talking about this in front of children unless the parents have brought them there and the parents see that there's something else in that child. Anyway, this is really hard for people to grasp because there is nothing to hold on to there. There is no, it's just an effortless being without the story. But people come up into the mind. People will come up into that story to try and solve what's going on the outside. I've got to think in order to control and manipulate this situation. I've got to think to be able to get through the day. What, you want me to give up thinking? Nah, I can't do that. How do I give up thinking? And how's life? How am I supposed to live without thinking? Life will unfold. I used to say life will unfold exactly as it's supposed to unfold. No, life will unfold more beautifully than you've ever expected it to unfold. without the story. If you detach from that story, from any sense of personhood, then there is nothing there but everything there. There is nothing there in terms of, there's nothing to gain, there's nothing to hold on to, there's no attachments to anybody, you don't need anybody, you're just living in, you're liberated, you're living in peace, because you're not connected to a story in the mind. You can't be what other people, one, tell you about other people, and two, be the conditioning and program that has been filtered down into you. Morning. The beingness, the thing that is aware of life, the consciousness, the awareness, has been veiled by the mind. It's been covered up by a story. In the majority of people walking this planet. Veiling, veil, veil. It's like filter. You put a filter on in front of the beingness, in front of the thing that is aware of life, the filter being the mind. You put filter upon filter upon filter upon filter, beings are walking about, not a fucking clue who they are. Thinking, yes, I did that, I achieved that. I judged that person. I was mean to that person. Yes, look at me. Woo! It's all just a story. To want to get rid of suffering is suffering. To resist life in every moment, you will suffer. If you let life play out exactly as it's supposed to unfold, without coming up into a story, without coming up into the mind, into the ego, then your suffering will end in that space. You can't suffer without any thought. If there's no thoughts, you cannot suffer. There is no worry. There is no anxiety. There is no depression. It only exists because of the story in the mind. You sit for long enough in the emptiness of thought, which is the most challenging thing to do for the ego, for the story, because it'll keep kicking in. The more you sit in emptiness of thought, the more it'll want to take over. Morning, buddy. Morning. You go, if you're in a part of your life where you're seeking, so you're seeking to, you're doing breath work, you're going for fucking runs every day, you're doing spending money on retreats, you're going to yoga. One of these is gonna sort me out. You're in that seeking phase of, your entity is in that seeking phase, which a lot of people on this page are. And that's a beautiful space to be in. But that's the ego, that's the story, that's the conditioning, the programming. There'll be a point where that starts to shift. You'll start to shift into the discovery stage. The discovery stage is where you start to drop all that. You start to drop all the story, all the conditioning. There'll be a point where them two are merging together. The ego and the I am. They'll be fighting. The ego will be fighting to stay in control. I can't let that go because that fucker just give me a dirty look. Nah, that's not going to happen. I'm going to say something next time I see him. You were suffering in that place because you're connected to a story. I don't care what you say. If you come up into the mind, your ego The default mode for the ego is negativity. That's what it wants to do. And it wants to be in control of every moment. Once you've gone through the seeking part of your journey, the entity has, not John, not Bob, not Catherine, whoever it might be, the entity, then them two will start to merge together, and you'll notice the ego kicking in, the ego wanting to take control of that moment. But that's your time to detach. That's your time to remain empty. And what you'll realise is the more you remain empty, the more the ego will start to dissolve away. It'll fade away into nothingness. And then what you're left with no story, no conditioning, no programming. You're left with the awareness that has always been there from the moment you was born, before you're born, the moment you're after, and after. The thing that's aware of life when you're a baby, people talk in spirituality wanting to get back to a childlike state. What they're trying to get back to? They're trying to get back to the emptiness of thought. The awareness you are as a child before you start to get drip fed conditioning and programming, before you get to drip fed other people's stories, that awareness, the consciousness, is who everybody is. It's just that they've got layer and layer of programming on top of the. It's the mind. The mind has veiled that being. So that awareness is the same awareness that's there in your 20s, there in your 30s, there in your 40s, there in your 50s, there on your deathbed, there after that. The consciousness that everybody talks about is that's aware of life without a story. That's beingness. In that place, you're free, aren't you? There's no Michael A. Singer, untethered. You've untethered yourself. What did Jesus say? You had to die to your ego to be reborn. You die. What's the ego? It's the story. Some great messages there in the Bible. What did Buddha say? Your suffering will end at the end of thought. Something along them lines. It's all the same. It's all weaved in. To detach in every moment. If you detach in every moment, not just with the little things. Again, Michael A. Singer, he calls it low-hanging fruit. So you detach from the little things to start off with. Now this acceleration can be really, really quick for people. So if it does start to be quick, when you start to detach and you start to see, there's something else here, I'm not this story, then that can be quite off-putting for people. Because they're detaching from everything that they've ever believed. Any sense of being a person, any sense of personhood, any sense of what anybody's told them about, and even more so, never believe anybody when they tell you about somebody else. Because it's just a story from their conditioning and programming. It's absolute nonsense. But yeah, Michael A. Singer, it calls it low-hanging fruit. So you detaching out, you let go. He calls it letting go. It's the same thing. Let go, detach in every moment. Little things. Somebody gives you a dirty look, let it go. Somebody sticks V's up here, let it go. Them little things that you're detaching from will then become big things. You'll start to, and the ego won't want to do it. You see? You see what happens there? You've probably just had a thought, fuck that, I can't let go of that person abusing me when I was a child. You absolutely fucking can. I've been there. I was abused by 2 different people, 2 different occasions, and I've let it all go. My entity had to experience that. It had to go through that pain in order to be this entity now today. Thank fuck I did. Thank fuck I went through those struggles. Thank fuck I was homeless with a little boy, 4-year-old boy. Thank fuck I went through all them challenges and tribulations. Because my entity, this soul, had to experience that. It had to. That was my life plan before I've even come on this planet. So if you're resisting that, if you're in that space of no, that shouldn't have happened to me, well, you're in the wrong fucking game, aren't you? If you think whatever has happened to you, or whatever is gonna happen to you, shouldn't have happened or isn't gonna happen, then you're resisting life. In that resistance to life, you will suffer. Morning.
Morning.
If you're resisting any moment, you can only ever resist something because of the thoughts in your head. Firstly, you've got to detach from the story. Once you start to detach from the mind, then you can go into the phase of discovery. You're discovering that you're not the story, you never have been, never can be, and never fucking will be. People have just been veiled by the mind. And then you can go into that seeking discovery, into that discovery phase. And in that place you drop all resistance. There is no resistance to anything. To want to get rid of suffering is suffering. That means if you're resisting any moment, if you're suffering in any moment, and you're trying to resist that, you will suffer even more. It's going to happen anyway. It was meant to happen. The abuse that I went through as a child was meant to happen. I was meant to go through that in this lifetime. I was meant to experience it. However shit it is in the moment, I was meant to be experiencing that in order for me to wake up. Not me as a person, this entity, to wake up. The more you resist life, the more you resist the things that have happened in the past, they don't exist anymore. It doesn't exist. Once these words leave my mouth, they don't exist. Once these footsteps leave that footstep behind me, it doesn't exist. Once this car drives past, it doesn't exist. It could only exist. That lady could have gone into a story. What's he pointing at? Give you a dirty look. That's all coming from the fucking mind. It's all coming from that. Somebody else could drive past. See, you're pointing at. Watch this. Watch this. You wave at people. Somebody will give you a dirty look. Somebody might pull over. Somebody might give you V's. Somebody might pit the road. Somebody might get out and try chasing you. That is all the programming. You see what I'm saying? It's all the programming. Them beings have been veiled by the mind. So they think that they're that story. They think that that's them in that moment. It's not. It's just shit that's regurgitated from the past. I could stand along here, I could wave, I could high five, and you'll get a different reaction every time. Why? Why is everybody not living in that beingness? Because they've been fucking veiled and they're unaware of it, and they're walking about this planet thinking, I've said it before, The thinking part is the mad thing. They walk away. Watch this. We've got 2 different cars here. We'll see different people's reactions. No reaction. Watch this one here. See what happens here. I mean, veiled by the mind. Veil. That's all it is, guys. People are just veiled. And the mad thing about the mad thing about that car then was once the girl waved in the back, she's looking for the front. Fucking hell, why did I wave? She's it's incredible. But all that is happening is the beingness has been veiled by the mind. Everybody's reaction will be different depending on everybody's conditioning and programming. So you're never speaking to somebody from beingness. It's very rare. Morning, guys. Morning, mate. Just happy, man. Just happy. You're always speaking to somebody's conditioning, somebody's programming. You are. The 3 people there, 3 different reactions. One give me a dirty look. What is that? What? Fucking hell. They've been some of them have been, well, not some of them, they've been veiled the whole life, whole fucking lifetimes of listening to something that isn't real. That's sad, isn't it? I know I laugh about it, but I laugh to try and fucking let other people see how fucking stupid it is. You're wasting your life. You were wasting this precious fucking time as this entity that you get to experience life with beautiful people. You're fucking wasting it listening to something that isn't real. I don't care if somebody's dying. I don't care if somebody's just died. You're going into a story in every moment. You don't have to be conditioned and programmed to think that's a bad thing. So fucking what if someone dies? That's an amazing thing. They then go on to the next chapter of that entity's being. It's fucking madness. But everyone's veiled by the mind. And I understand. I've been there. I've been through that. I've been through the stage before seeking. I've been through suffering. I've been through struggle. I've then gone into the seeking phase. Some people live the whole lifetime in that struggling and suffering place. Some people transition into the seeking phase. So suffering, struggling, all connected to a story. It's all generated through the mind. Some people live in that state the whole of their life, whole lifetimes. Some people are lucky enough to start to come out of that phase, to start to feel better through seeking, through breath work, through meditation, through money, seeking through money, seeking through social media, seeking through having nice women, seeking through breath work, cold water therapy, whatever it might be. So people have gone through the struggling, the suffering, and then they go into that seeking phase of trying to attain something. And then after that, morning guys, how you doing? You alright? Once people have gone through that, and hopefully kids like that won't struggle and suffer because people are more awake, which is a beautiful thing. The more awake people are to truth, detached from the story of what people have told them. Adults, not children. Children are free and innocent. Children are living life exactly as they're supposed to live life. It's only fucking adults that have passed their conditioning and programming down into children. The less you tell kids and the more you let them be free to experience life without a story, the better it is for humanity. The better it is for everybody. Just let them be and let them explore every moment. Going back to what we were talking about. After the seeking phase, so after you've got, people live in the seeking phase until the day they die. So people have gone through the struggle, they've gone through the suffering phase, then they'll go into that seeking phase. People can live in that seeking phase the whole of their life until the day they die, trying to attain something. What they're trying to do is to end the suffering. They've been through that suffering, they've struggled. Now they want to fucking end that. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live in anxiety, depression, fear, worry. So then they start to, I've been there. Then they start to do it. This is what everyone does. Then, unless you get stuck in each phase, you could get stuck in each one. You could get stuck in the suffering, whole of your lifetime. You could get stuck in the seeking, whole of your lifetime. What people are trying to do in the seeking phase is to end their suffering through trying to attain something. So I'll go and run marathons. I'll go and do triathlons. I'll go and do cool water therapy. I'll go and do meditation. I'll go and do breathwork sessions. I'll go and do X, Y, and Z. Oh, I'll go and do a breathwork session and a retreat, and they've got a fucking swimming pool there. Oh no, they've got a triathlon club there. That's fucking fantastic. That'll sort me out. Yes. What is that? It's the thought, it's the ego, it's the storage. Just keep playing out regurgitated shit. You'll keep yourself on a fucking conveyor belt the whole of your life. You'll be on that conveyor belt of trying to attain something and trying to end your suffering for the rest of your life. I see it. I see it in people. People that are into exercise and all this meditation, and which I'm not saying it isn't good. It is good if you're in that seeking phase. But there's got to be a point, and some people don't come out of that seeking phase. They die in that seeking phase. That entity will die in that seeking phase, and then they'll come back and they'll do it all again, until eventually they'll come after the seeking phase. If you're lucky enough to drop into this phase in this lifetime, then you've been. If you become aware of the I in this lifetime, then this could well be your last incarnation on this planet, because you're coming to truth. Because now you're in the discovery phase. The discovery phase is a place where your suffering will end. You're free without the story, without the conditioning, without the programming. Once you've detached from it all, any sense of personhood, any sense of what mummy told you, what daddy told you, what your friends have told you, what your neighbours have told you, whatever it might be. I don't want to go that way today. I want to try and get over this fence here if I can and go through that way. Just don't want to be doing my video down there. Just because they're building a new house down there, you see, so I don't want to be traipsing through all the new stones and stuff like that. I wonder if I can get over this wall, yeah. Anyway, once you've detached, so in the seeking phase, there'll be in that phase you're seeking, so there could be a point in that phase where you start to see that there's something else, start to detach from the story, from the conditioning, from the programming. In that phase, you might not. You might be stuck in that phase, and you might be at the beginning of the phase where you're doing all this fucking stuff, meditation, breath work, whatever it might be, until the day you die. You're on that conveyor belt of nothingness, really. You're just trying to. And I'm not saying that it isn't good for you. It is good for you. Exercise is fantastic, but if you're aware of something else, and it's if you've come here to awaken to this. If you've not, then that's absolutely fine. You're on your soul on its own journey, and that's incredible. You might wake up eventually. Eventually you will do, but Maybe not in this lifetime. If you're in that seeking phase, you're going to be seeking out truth. Now, somewhere in that phase, you'll come into contact with somebody or something that'll send you down the path of detaching from all the story. Once you've gone through that stage and you've kind of like shedded your skin like a snake's skin, once you've shedded those layers, those filters of conditioning, the mind, you've lifted the veil. You'll hear about this in spirituality, where people say about lifting the veil. That's what it is. Lifting the veil is becoming one with the beingness and not the mind. In that place, once you've detached from the story, then you start to go into the discovery phase. The discovery phase is where you're free. It's where there is no story, there is no conditioning, there is no mind anymore. There is no mind. The mind has dissolved into nothingness in that seeking phase. There is nothing there. You're free in that moment to discover the beauty of life without any conditioning, without any programming. Your suffering ends there once you come into that discovery phase. To want to get rid of suffering is suffering. So once you stop resisting every moment, then you're discovering, aren't you? But it's got to be every moment. And it will be every moment. Don't get worried that, sometimes I'm connected to a story. Sometimes I'm alright, sometimes that's fine. It's got to play it like that. Because that condition is, you've got to be unveiled. Those layers have got to be peeled back like an onion. And eventually it'll all be peeled away. And that ego, the story, it'll just dissolve into nothing. And then you can experience life for the beauty that it is, without any story there. The clouds, the trees, just discover every moment. The grass, you're back then, and we'll round it up on this, then you're back in that childlike state. There's no resistance to life. You've not been veiled by the mind. You have been veiled by the mind, and the veil's been lifted, and then you're discovering like a child. You've gone back into that childlike state with no story, with no mind, with no conditioning or programming there, and then you're free in every moment to live every moment exactly as it's supposed to be, without any resistance to anything. And in that space, you're liberated. In that space, you are free. And if you're lucky enough, and your lineage through your family, if you're the one person in that lineage to awaken to truth, then think yourself very, very lucky that you have changed the trajectory of your lineage. I've changed it, because my family is connected to a story. My family is connected to the mind, to the ego. They've been veiled by the mind. Luckily, I've come on this planet to lift that veil. My dad had lifted the veil a little bit. Now it's been passed down into me to lift that veil, and then pass that down into my little boy, so he can even more so discover the beauty of this beautiful, beautiful planet. If you're lucky enough to see the truth, don't let anybody stop you. Not any other entity try and feed you their story. One, about their own story, but two, about anybody else's story. As soon as you start to hear that, detach, let it go. Don't let that become a part of your ego. Don't get be veiled anymore. Don't get the conditioning and programming. Don't get one of their filters, a filter in the mind. Because what will happen is there'll be filter upon filter upon filter until you're walking about not a clue who you are. And that's what I want for my little boy. He can live the beauty of life and not be veiled by the mind. He's going to get veiled by the mind, it happens. But if you can only be veiled a few filters, it's like when you put like a orange piece of paper, I don't know how to explain it, like a coloured, like a see-through coloured piece of plastic, and then you put plastic on plastic on plastic. The more pieces of plastic you put on, the more it gets difficult to see truth, the more it gets difficult to see. That's the same as being veiled. That's the same as the filter of the mind. Get veiled, get a filter upon filter, story upon story, conditioning upon conditioning, until you can't see truth. You've been veiled by the mind. Then what people on a spiritual path to do is they start to take off filter by filter by filter by filter until eventually everything becomes clear. There is no filter there is no mind. The veil has been lifted. The filters have been taken away until there's just pure beingness. I want for my little boy, that them filters have been taken off from my dad. He'd just been so conditioned and programmed, he'd been listened by other people, that that filter kept on in his lifetime, which is really sad. That veil, it couldn't lift the veil. Whereas I've been in contact with people that have veiled, that have put filters in my mind. I've managed to lift those filters. Relationship ending, things happening with my family, it's all been lifted away. But that had to happen. I had to go through all that negativity to be veiled in order to lift that veil, to get rid of those filters. No, I'm living in beingness. I'm 98% there of getting rid of all the filters, to lifting that veil. The veil, maybe just a little bit there that needs to be, the veil needs to be, and then it's fully lifted. But that lifting the veil then gets, it's natural, isn't it? But Harry's around me every day, every half the week, so he gets to hear all this, which is beautiful. Why would you want anybody? The only reason you want somebody to suffer is because you want to control them, and you want to manipulate them, and you want them to be who you want them to be. That is it. You're not letting, and this is what happens. This is what happens with children. That conditioning and programming gets filtered down into that child, layer upon layer of that parent's conditioning and programming. If somebody hasn't lifted the veil to say that it's not true, that then gets filtered into that child. So Harry is living in a place of that veil being lifted when he's with me, but when he's with his mum, he's living in a place of where that veil is totally covered over. That being has been totally veiled by the mind, being his mum. And that's no disrespect, that's just the truth, and that's what everybody's living as. I'm not singling anybody out. I'm just saying the truth, that his mum has been veiled by the mind. She doesn't know any different. She truly believes the stories, the conditioning, the programming, what her friends have told her about a certain situation, what her mum's told her, what her dads have told her, that she truly believes that conditioning and programming. I don't think there's any sense of that veil being lifted in this lifetime, which is the majority of people. So I'm not singling this person out, but Harry's living in them two places of a veiled mind and a not veiled mind. That is beautiful for Harry to see. It is. Now, has Harry come here to lift the veil, or has he come here to be conditioned and programming? Harry is 100% come here not to be conditioned and programmed. You see it in him. Doesn't like being told what to do, like me. He doesn't like authority. He's his own free spirit. He's his own free will, which is what everybody is until they start to get conditioned and programmed. And what will happen, the more that conditioning and program from Katie, it's pushed into Harry, that you do this, you do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, the more he's going to retreat from that. The more he retreats from that, the more he lifts the veil, because he's not in that conditioning and programming. the more he sees, I can't live like that. But I live like that. Me, Sam, let's call me Sam. I lived like that with my parents' conditioning and programming for a long period of, up until 10 years ago, into my 30s. And other people's veiling, other people's filters, being controlled by a parent, controlled by an ex-partner. And thus, even my mum swears blind that she doesn't. She's not like that, but she absolutely is. And my ex-partner will agree with me. Of course she's like that, yeah. She tells me what she's like. But then my ex-partner behaves exactly the same way. Not exactly the same way, there's differences in there. But it's the same kind of manipulation and control. All because they've been veiled by the mind. So if you're, like I said, if you're lucky enough to lift that, then it's important that then that beingness gets filtered into his child. Not stories or conditioned or programming, just pure beingness gets. Because your child has come here for that reason. Your child has come here to awaken. Hope everyone has a fantastic day. Namaste.